Hey there, Night Wanderers. Welcome back to Sleepless Survivors. Tonight, we're doing something a little different. No explosions, no jump scares, no dramatic music. Just you, me, and the slow, grinding reality of what it would actually be like to survive in ancient Egypt. Not the Egypt of Hollywood, not the Egypt of golden treasures and mysterious curses, but the Egypt of sand, sweat, and endless labour under a sun that doesn't forgive. Before we begin, if you enjoy these long-form survival journeys, go ahead and like the video, subscribe if you want more, and drop a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is. I always find it fascinating to know who's out there in the dark with me. Now get comfortable, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's drift together into the ancient world. Close your eyes, take a breath, and imagine. Chapter 1. The Awakening. You open your eyes. The first thing you notice is the light. Not the soft glow of a bedside lamp, or the blue flicker of a phone screen. This is harsh, unfiltered sunlight pouring through a gap in mud brick walls. Your head pounds. Your mouth tastes like copper and dust. Where are you? You try to sit up, but your body protests. Every muscle aches. Your skin feels tight, hot, and strangely gritty. You look down at your hands. They're covered in a fine layer of sand and something else. Dried mud, maybe. Your clothes are wrong. Instead of your usual pajamas or jeans, you're wearing a simple linen tunic. Rough, undyed, and already damp with sweat. The room around you is small. The walls are made of sun-baked brick, cracked and uneven. The floor is packed earth. There's no furniture except for a woven reed mat beneath you and a clay pot in the corner. No windows. Just that single gap in the wall where the light streams through. You stand, unsteady. Your legs feel weak, like you've been lying down for days. Or maybe like you've been walking for days. You can't remember. That's the worst part. You can't remember how you got here. The last thing you recall is going to bed. Your bed. In your room. In the 21st century. And now you're here. Wherever here is. You move toward the gap in the wall and peer outside. What you see makes your stomach drop. Sand. Endless sand stretching in every direction, broken only by clusters of low mud brick buildings. Palm trees rise in the distance, their fronds swaying in a breeze you can't yet feel. And beyond them, a strip of brilliant blue-green. Water, a river, the Nile. You know it instantly, even though you've never seen it before. Not in person. Not like this. People move through the narrow streets below, men in simple loincloths, women in long linen dresses, some with children on their hips. A donkey brays somewhere nearby. The air smells of smoke, animals, and something earthy and pungent you can't quite place. This isn't a dream. Dreams don't ache, they don't smell, they don't leave you standing in a doorway with the sun burning the back of your neck and absolutely no idea what to do next. You're in ancient Egypt, and you have no way out. Chapter 2. The Village. You step outside and the heat hits you like a physical force. It's not just warm, it's oppressive. The kind of heat that makes the air shimmer and your lungs feel like they're inhaling sand. Within seconds, sweat is running down your back, soaking into the rough linen tunic. The street, if you can call it that, is narrow and unpaved. Just hard-packed earth worn smooth by thousands of feet. Mud brick buildings line both sides, their walls cracked and weathered. Some have small courtyards where children play or women grind grain on flat stones. Others are barely more than huts, their roofs made of palm fronds and reeds. Everyone you see is busy. No one is idle. A man walks past carrying a large clay jar balanced on his shoulder. A woman sweeps the dust from her doorway with a bundle of straw. Two boys chase a scrawny dog down an alley laughing. No one looks at you. That should be comforting, but it's not. It means you blend in. You're dressed like them. You look like them, at least enough that no one's staring. But you don't feel like them. You feel like an imposter, a time traveller without a machine, a stranger in a world you don't understand. You start walking, keeping close to the walls. You don't know where you're going. You just need to move, to see, to figure out what's happening. The village, because that's clearly what this is, sprawls in a loose organic pattern. There's no grid, no planning, just clusters of buildings connected by winding paths. Some streets lead to small open squares where people gather. Others dead end at walls or storage buildings, You pass a bakery. At least, that's what you think it is. The smell of baking bread drifts from a low building with a large clay oven outside. A woman kneads dough on a wooden board while another feeds sticks into the fire beneath the oven. The bread they're making is flat and round, nothing like the fluffy loaves you're used to. But your stomach growls at the sight of it. When did you last eat? You can't remember. Further down you see a potter's workshop. Rows of clay jars sit drying in the sun. A man sits at a wheel, shaping a new vessel with practiced hands. His fingers move with precision, pulling the clay upward, smoothing the sides. He doesn't look up as you pass. Everyone here has a role, a job, a place in the rhythm of daily life. You have none of those things. You reach what seems to be the centre of the village. A larger open area where several paths converge. A well sits in the middle, its stone edges worn smooth by countless hands. A group of women stand around it, drawing water with leather buckets tied to ropes. They talk and laugh, their voices light despite the heat. You approach slowly, trying to look like you belong. One of the women glances at you. She's older, maybe in her 40s, though it's hard to tell. Her face is lined and weathered, her hands rough. She says something in a language you don't understand. The words sound harsh, guttural, but not unkind. You freeze. Of course. Language. You're in ancient Egypt. They don't speak English, they speak Egyptian. Ancient Egyptian. A language that's been dead for thousands of years. A language you don't know a single word of. The woman frowns. She repeats herself, slower this time, as if volume and clarity will somehow make you understand. You shake your head, helpless. She exchanges a look with the other women. One of them says something sharp. They all laugh, not cruelly, just dismissively. You're strange, foreign maybe, or slow. Either way, you're not worth their time. They turn back to their work and you're left standing there, invisible again. This is going to be harder than you thought. Chapter 3. The Language Barrier. You spend the rest of that first day in a daze wandering the village like a ghost. No one speaks to you. No one asks who you are or where you came from. In a way, that's a relief. But it's also terrifying, because it means you're on your own, completely and utterly alone in a world where you can't communicate, can't read signs, can't ask for help. You try to listen, to pick up patterns in the language, but it's like trying to catch water with your hands. The sounds slip away before you can grasp them. The consonants are harsh, the vowels swallowed. Some words sound vaguely familiar, echoes of things you've read in textbooks or heard in documentaries, but not enough to be useful. By evening your head is pounding, not just from the heat, but from the sheer mental effort of trying to make sense of everything. You find yourself back at the small mud brick room where you woke up. You're not sure if it's yours, but no one stops you from entering. Inside, it's cooler. The thick walls block some of the heat. You collapse onto the reed mat and close your eyes. Sleep doesn't come easily. Your mind races. How did you get here? Why are you here? Is this permanent? Will you ever get back? The questions spiral, unanswered. Eventually, exhaustion wins. You drift into a fitful sleep, your dreams full of voices you can't understand and faces that look through you without seeing. Chapter 4. The First Lesson. The next morning you wake to the sound of roosters and the distant bray of a donkey. Your body aches. The reed mat is about as comfortable as sleeping on concrete. Your back is stiff, your neck sore, but you're alive. And you're still here. You sit up and rub your face. Your skin feels gritty. You need water. You need food. You need to figure out how to survive. Outside, the village is already awake. The sun is just rising, but people are moving. Life doesn't wait for the heat to become unbearable. It starts early before the worst of it arrives. You make your way back to the well. This time, you're prepared. Or at least you think you are. The same group of women is there. Different women, actually, but they're doing the same thing. Drawing water, filling jars, balancing them on their heads or shoulders and carrying them away. You watch for a moment, trying to understand the process. There's a rhythm to it. One woman lowers the bucket. Another pulls it up. A third pours the water into jars. Efficient. Practiced. You step forward and mime your need. You point to the water, then to your mouth. Thirsty. It's universal, right? One of the women looks at you. She's young, maybe in her 20s. Her face is suspicious, but not hostile. She says something. You don't understand. You shake your head and repeat the gesture. Water. Please. She sighs. Then she hands you an empty bucket. You stare at it. She gestures toward the well. Clearly, if you want water, you work for it. Fair enough. You take the bucket and approach the well. The rope is coarse and rough in your hands. You lower the bucket into the darkness below, feeling the weight shift as it hits water. Then you pull. It's heavier than you expected. Much heavier. The rope burns your palms. Your arms shake. You pull harder, hand over hand, until the bucket finally emerges, sloshing and dripping. The women watch. One of them smirks. You pour the water into a jar, spilling half of it in the process. The young woman who gave you the bucket shakes her head. She takes the jar, fills it properly from another bucket, and hands it back to you. Then she says a word, slow and clear. Moo, water. You repeat it. Moo. She nods. Then she points to the bucket and says another word. Kayat. You repeat it. Kayat. Another nod. This is how you learn. Not through textbooks or apps, but through necessity. Through gestures and repetition, and the patience of strangers who have better things to do but help anyway. Over the next few days, you collect words like a beggar collects coins, bread, tar, sun, ra, house, per, food, uenem, yes, iwa, no, nay. It's slow, painfully slow, but it's something. You also learn through observation. You watch how people greet each other, a slight nod, a hand to the chest. You watch how they eat, sitting on the ground, using their hands, tearing bread and dipping it into communal bowls. You watch how they work, together, always together, never alone. And you learn the most important lesson of all. In ancient Egypt, survival is communal. There's no room for individualism, no room for privacy. If you want to eat, you work. If you want water, you help draw it. If you want shelter, you contribute. You're not a guest. You're not a tourist. You're simply another body in the village, another pair of hands, and if you can't pull your weight, you won't last long. Chapter 5. The work begins. By the end of your first week, you've been absorbed into the rhythm of the village. It's not because anyone welcomes you with open arms. It's because they need labour. Everyone does. And if you're here, you might as well be useful. You're assigned, if you can call it that, to work in the fields. The fields stretch along the banks of the Nile, flat and fertile. This is the season of pharaoh, the growing season, when the floodwaters have receded and left behind rich black silt. The earth is soft and dark, perfect for planting, but planting is back-breaking work. You're given a simple tool, a wooden hoe with a stone blade. No handle, just a bent stick. You're shown once how to use it. Chop the earth, break the clumps, make furrows for the seeds, then you're left to figure it out. The sun is relentless. By mid-morning, it's already brutal. There's no shade in the fields, no breaks, just row after row of earth that needs to be turned. Your hands blister within the first hour. By the second hour, the blisters burst. By midday, your palms are raw and bleeding. No one offers sympathy. No one checks on you. The other workers, men and women alike, simply keep going. Their hands are calloused, their movements efficient. They've done this their entire lives. You haven't. Every muscle in your body screams. Your back burns. Your shoulders ache. Your legs tremble. You want to stop, to sit down, to rest. But everyone else is still working. And if you stop, you're weak. If you're weak, you're useless. So you keep going. Lunch is a brief respite. You sit in the dirt with the others, too exhausted to move. Someone passes around a basket of bread and a jar of water. You take your share, a single piece of flat bread and a few sips of warm, slightly muddy water. It's the best meal you've ever had. You eat in silence. No one talks. There's no energy for conversation. Just chewing, drinking, and the brief, blessed relief of not moving. Then it's back to work. The afternoon is worse than the morning. The sun is directly overhead now, turning the fields into an oven. Sweat pours off you. Your vision blurs. You feel dizzy, nauseous, but you keep going. You have to. By the time the sun finally begins to set, you're barely standing. Your hands are shaking, your legs are jelly. You drop the hoe and stagger back toward the village with the others. No one congratulates you. No one pats you on the back. This is just day one, and tomorrow you'll do it all again. Chapter 6. The Sleeping Arrangements. That night, you collapse onto the reed mat in your small room and don't move for hours. Your body is destroyed. Every inch of you hurts. Your hands throb, your back spasms, your skin is burned and tight from the sun. But you're too tired to care. Sleep comes fast and hard, dragging you under like a wave. When you wake the next morning, it's still dark. For a moment you think maybe it's the middle of the night. Maybe you can sleep a little longer. Then you hear the roosters. You groan and force yourself to sit up. Your body protests loudly. Everything hurts worse than it did yesterday. Your muscles are stiff. Your joints creaky. Moving feels like trying to operate a broken machine. But you have to move, because if you don't eat. You shuffle outside. The village is waking up. Fires are being lit. Bread is being baked. Water is being drawn. The same cycle as yesterday. The same cycle as every day. You make your way to the fields again. This becomes your life. Wake before dawn. Work until sunset. Eat twice if you're lucky. Sleep on a mat that offers no comfort. Repeat. There's no variety, no weekends, no vacations, just work. And slowly, painfully, your body begins to adapt. The blisters on your hands harden into calluses. Your muscles, though they still ache, grow stronger. Your skin darkens under the relentless sun, toughening like leather. You learn to pace yourself, to conserve energy, to move with the rhythm of the field rather than against it. You're not good at this, not by any stretch, but you're surviving. And in ancient Egypt, that's all that matters. Chapter 7. The Food. Let's talk about food, because in the 21st century food is abundant, convenient, varied. You can order almost anything at any time and have it delivered to your door. In ancient Egypt, food is survival, and survival is repetitive, bland, and occasionally dangerous. Your diet consists of 3 main things: bread, beer, and onions. Bread is the foundation. It's made from emmer wheat or barley, ground into flour on stone querns. The grinding process leaves tiny fragments of stone in the flour, which means every bite of bread is slightly gritty. Over time, this grit wears down your teeth. Everyone here has dental problems, cavities, abscesses, teeth worn flat by the age of 30. You're already starting to notice it. A dull ache in your molars, a sensitivity to hot and cold, but there's no dentist, no toothpaste, no way to fix it except to endure. Beer is the other staple, not the beer you're used to. This is thick, nutritious, and low in alcohol. It's made from partially baked bread mixed with water and left to ferment. It's grainy, sour, and sometimes has bits of barley floating in it, but it's safer than water. The brewing process kills most of the bacteria, so you drink it every day, multiple times a day. Even the children drink it. It takes some getting used to. Onions are everywhere, raw, cooked, dried. They're cheap, easy to grow, and provide some flavour in an otherwise monotonous diet. You eat them with bread, you eat them with beer, sometimes you just eat them plain. Occasionally, very occasionally, there's more. A bit of fish from the Nile, a handful of lentils, some lettuce or cucumbers if it's harvest time. On rare, special occasions there might be meat, a goat or a duck slaughtered for a festival, but meat is a luxury. Most people go months without it. You learn to appreciate the small things: a piece of bread that's still warm, a cup of beer that's not too sour, an onion that's not rotten. Hunger is a constant companion, not starvation, but a low-level, gnawing emptiness that never quite goes away. You're always a little hungry, always thinking about your next meal, always hoping there will be enough. Food here isn't about enjoyment, it's about fuel, about keeping your body moving long enough to work another day, and you quickly learn that in ancient Egypt, food is never guaranteed. Chapter 8. The Hygiene. Let's address the elephant in the room, or rather the lack of bathrooms, because in the 21st century we take sanitation for granted. Flush toilets, running water, soap, showers, deodorant. In ancient Egypt, none of that exists. Let's start with the toilet situation. There isn't one. Most people simply go outside. There's a communal area at the edge of the village downwind where people relieve themselves. It's a patch of sand with a few low walls for privacy. That's it. No plumbing, no seats. Just squat and hope for the best. Toilet paper doesn't exist. You use sand, water, or your hand, then you wash your hand in the Nile. Or you don't, because water is precious and sometimes there isn't enough to spare. Flies are everywhere, drawn to the smell, landing on food, on skin, on everything. You learn to wave them away constantly. It becomes an unconscious habit. Bathing is a luxury. The wealthy, priests, scribes, nobles, bathe daily in the Nile or with water from the well. But you're not wealthy. You're a field worker. Water is for drinking, cooking and irrigating crops, not for washing yourself. You bathe maybe once a week. Maybe. And when you do, it's quick and cold. You pour a jar of water over yourself, scrub with your hands, and that's it. Your hair becomes matted and oily, your skin itchy. You smell. Everyone smells. But since everyone smells, no one notices. Dental hygiene is non-existent. There's no toothbrush. Some people chew on sticks to clean their teeth. You try it. It helps a little. But your breath still tastes like old beer and onions. Laundry is another challenge. You have one tunic. One. You wash it every few days by beating it against a rock in the river. It never really gets clean. The stains just fade into a general dinginess. And then there are the parasites. Lice. Everyone has them. You feel them crawling in your hair, biting your scalp. You scratch constantly, sometimes until you bleed. There's no way to get rid of them. They're just part of life. Fleas are common too, and mosquitoes. The Nile breeds them by the millions. At night they swarm. You wake up covered in bites, red and swollen and maddeningly itchy. Some people have worse. Intestinal worms from drinking contaminated water or eating unwashed vegetables. Schistosomiasis from wading in the Nile, where parasitic snails release larvae that burrow into your skin. You see people coughing, wheezing, clutching their stomachs. You see children with distended bellies. You see open sores that never heal. Medicine is limited. Herbal remedies, incantations, amulets. Some of it works. Most of it doesn't. You're lucky. So far you've avoided the worst, but you know it's only a matter of time. In ancient Egypt, your body is a battleground, and hygiene is a losing fight. Chapter 9. The heat. Let's talk about the heat, because if there's one constant in ancient Egypt, it's the sun. It rises early and sets late, and in between, it beats down on you with relentless, suffocating intensity. There's no air conditioning, no fans, no ice. Just the sun and the sand and the occasional breeze that does nothing but blow more dust into your face. During the summer months, Shomu, the harvest season, the temperature regularly climbs above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, sometimes higher. The air shimmers. The ground burns through the soles of your sandals. Shade is scarce and jealously guarded. You learn to work in the early morning and late afternoon, resting during the midday heat. But even then, it's oppressive. Your body adjusts slowly. You sweat less, conserving water. Your skin darkens, providing some protection against the sun. You learn to move slowly to avoid unnecessary exertion. But the heat is always there, pressing down on you, draining you. Dehydration is a constant risk. You drink as much as you can, but it's never quite enough. Your lips crack. Your skin feels tight and dry. Your head pounds, and at night the heat lingers. The mud brick walls of your room hold the warmth like an oven. You lie on your mat, too hot to sleep, too exhausted not to. Sometimes, in the deepest part of the night, the temperature drops, just a little, enough to bring relief. You pull a thin linen blanket over yourself and finally drift off. Then the sun rises, and it starts all over again. Chapter 10. The Nile. The Nile is everything. It's the lifeblood of Egypt, the source of water, food, transportation, and fertility. Without it, this entire civilization wouldn't exist. You see it every day, a wide, slow-moving ribbon of blue-green cutting through the desert. In the early morning it's calm and glassy. By afternoon it ripples with the breeze. People fish in it, casting nets from small papyrus boats. Women wash clothes on its banks, beating fabric against flat stones. Children splash in the shallows, laughing and playing. But the Nile is also dangerous. Crocodiles lurk in the deeper waters. You see them sometimes basking on the banks, massive, prehistoric, utterly terrifying. People give them a wide berth. Every year someone is taken, a child wading too deep, a fisherman leaning too far from his boat. The crocodile strikes, and they're gone. Hippos are even worse. They look slow and docile, but they're aggressive and territorial. They overturn boats. They charge anyone who gets too close. More people are killed by hippos than by crocodiles. And then there are the parasites. You've already heard the warnings. Don't wade in the water unless you have to. Don't drink it unless it's been boiled or turned into beer. The Nile teems with invisible dangers, but you have no choice. You need water. You need to wash, so you take your chances like everyone else. The Nile floods every year during the season of Akhet. The waters rise, spilling over the banks, covering the fields with nutrient-rich silt. When the floods recede, the land is fertile and ready for planting. This is the cycle that makes Egypt possible. The flood, the planting, the harvest, repeat forever. You've heard people talk about the flood with reverence. It's not just a natural event, it's a gift from the gods, specifically from Hapi, the god of the Nile. If the flood is too low, the crops fail and people starve. If it's too high, villages are swept away. The Nile gives and the Nile takes. And everyone, from the pharaoh to the lowest field worker, depends on it. Chapter 11. The social hierarchy. You've been here long enough to start understanding how this society works. At the top is the pharaoh. You haven't seen him. You probably never will. He's a god-king, divine, untouchable. He lives in a palace in Memphis or Thebes, far from this small village. Below him are the nobles, the viziers, the priests, the military commanders. They own the land. They control the resources. They make the decisions. Then come the scribes, the educated elite. They can read and write hieroglyphs, which gives them power. They record taxes, manage inventories, write letters for the illiterate masses. It's a cushy job. Clean hands, shaded work, respect. Below them are the artisans, the carpenters, potters, weavers, metalworkers, skilled labourers who create goods for trade and daily life. They're respected, well-fed, relatively comfortable. And then, at the bottom, are people like you, the farmers, the field workers, the ones who break their backs to grow the food that feeds everyone else. You have no land, no wealth, no status. You work because if you don't, you starve. There's no upward mobility. You can't study to become a scribe. You can't save money to buy land. You're stuck. This is your life, and it will be your children's life, and their children's life forever. It's a rigid, unforgiving system, but it's stable. Everyone knows their place, and as long as the Nile floods and the crops grow, the system works. You learn to keep your head down, to do your work, to avoid drawing attention, because in a world where power is concentrated at the top, being invisible is the safest way to survive. Chapter 12. The religion. Religion is everywhere in ancient Egypt. Not optional, not private. It's woven into every aspect of daily life. The gods are real, not metaphorically, literally. They control the sun, the river, the harvest, the afterlife. If you want to survive, you respect them. You see shrines everywhere. Small offerings of bread, beer, flowers left at the feet of statues. People bow, they pray, they make vows. The most important god is Ra, the sun god. Every morning he's reborn in the east. Every evening he dies in the west, travelling through the underworld before being reborn again. The cycle of life and death, played out daily in the sky. Then there's Osiris, god of the afterlife. He judges the dead, weighing their hearts against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth and order. If your heart is light, you enter the afterlife. If it's heavy with sin, it's devoured by Amit, the demon. You learn the prayers, the rituals. You participate in festivals, even though you don't fully understand them. You watch priests perform ceremonies, chanting in voices that echo off temple walls. It's all very serious, very formal, but it's also comforting. Because in a world where life is hard and death is close, the promise of an afterlife, a paradise where there's no hunger, no pain, no work, is powerful. You cling to that promise, even though you don't really believe it, even though you're not sure you belong in this world at all. Chapter 13. The illness. It happens in your 3rd month. You wake up one morning feeling wrong. Not just tired, not just sore, something deeper. Your stomach cramps, your head throbs, you feel feverish, but also cold. Shivering under the thin linen blanket. You try to get up. You make it to your feet, but your legs buckle. You collapse back onto the mat, gasping. This is bad. You spend the day in bed, or trying to. Your body purges itself violently. You vomit. You have diarrhea. The small room smells terrible. You're too weak to clean it. No one checks on you. Why would they? You're just another worker. If you're sick, you're useless. If you're useless, you're forgotten. By the 2nd day, you're delirious. Your fever spikes. You drift in and out of consciousness, unsure what's real and what's hallucination. At some point someone enters, you don't know who. They leave a jar of water and a piece of bread you can't eat, you can barely drink. You think you're going to die. This is it. This is how it ends. Not dramatically, not heroically. Just alone, sick, in a mud brick room in a village whose name you don't even know. But then, slowly, the fever breaks. You wake on the 4th day weak, drenched in sweat, but alive. You drink the water, you eat the bread, you lie still and let your body recover. It takes a week before you're strong enough to work again. By then you've lost weight. Your muscles have atrophied, you're starting from scratch. But you survived, and that's all that matters. Chapter 14. The routine. Months pass, then a year, maybe more. Time blurs, days blend together. You wake before dawn, you work the fields, you eat bread and onions, you drink beer, you sleep on a mat. Repeat. Your hands are calloused now. Your skin is dark and leathery. Your body is lean and hard from constant labour. You no longer think about the 21st century, about your old life. It feels like a dream. Distant. Unreal. This is your life now. You learn more of the language, not fluently, but enough to get by, enough to understand commands, to participate in basic conversations. You make something resembling friends, or at least people who tolerate your presence. A fellow field. Worker named Kayamwaset. A woman at the well named Neferet. They don't ask where you came from. They don't care. You're just another body, another worker, and that's enough. You learn the rhythms of the seasons, Akhet, the flood, Peret, the planting, Shomu, the harvest. Each one has its own challenges, its own hardships. You learn to navigate the village. You know which streets lead where, which houses belong to whom, where to find water, food, shade. You learn to survive, and in a strange way you find a kind of peace. Not happiness, not contentment, but acceptance. This is your life, and it will be for as long as you remain trapped in ancient Egypt. Chapter 15. The Festival. One day, something different happens. The entire village is buzzing with excitement. People are cleaning their homes, baking extra bread, brewing fresh beer. Children run through the streets laughing and shouting. You ask Kayamaset what's going on. He grins. Festival. For Hathor. Hathor, goddess of love, music, joy. One of the most popular deities. The festival lasts 3 days. Work stops. Everyone participates. There's music, drums, flutes, sistrums rattling. People dance in the streets, clapping and singing. You've never seen them like this. So, alive. There's food. More than you've seen in months. Roasted duck, grilled fish, lentil stew, fresh bread, and beer. Lots of beer. You eat until you're full. Actually full. For the first time since you arrived. There are games. Wrestlers grappling in the sand. Stick fights. Foot races. People cheer and place bets. The atmosphere is electric. And at night, there's dancing. Not the formal, ceremonial kind, but wild, uninhibited dancing. People move to the rhythm of the drums, their bodies swaying, their faces flushed with beer and joy. You find yourself dancing too. Not because you're particularly good at it, but because it feels good. To move, to forget for just a moment the endless grind of daily survival. For 3 days, the village transforms. The weight of labour lifts. People laugh freely. They touch each other, hands on shoulders, arms linked, children climbing on parents. It's a reminder that beneath the grime and exhaustion, these are people, not machines, not slaves to routine. People who need joy as much as they need bread. On the final night there's a procession. A wooden statue of Hathor is carried through the streets on a platform, decorated with flowers and gold paint. A priest leads the procession, chanting prayers. Everyone follows, carrying oil lamps that flicker in the darkness. You join the crowd. The air smells of smoke and incense. The drums echo off the mud brick walls. And for a moment, just a moment, you feel connected. Part of something larger than yourself. Then the festival ends. The next morning everyone returns to work. The streets are littered with broken pottery and wilted flowers. The joy evaporates like morning dew under the sun. But something lingers. A memory of lightness. A reminder that even in this harsh, unforgiving world, there are moments worth living for. And maybe, you think, that's enough. Chapter 16. The death is common in ancient Egypt. You see it regularly. a child who stops breathing in the night, an old man who simply doesn't wake up one morning, a woman who dies in childbirth, her screams echoing through the village until they suddenly stop. No one is shocked. No one falls apart. Death is expected. Part of the natural order. The first death that affects you personally is Caimwaset. He's been complaining of a toothache for weeks. At first, it's just an annoyance. He winces when he eats. He holds his jaw sometimes, grimacing. Then it gets worse. His face swells. The infection spreads. His cheek becomes a grotesque balloon, red and hot to the touch. He develops a fever. Someone takes him to a healer. The healer applies a poultice of honey and herbs. It doesn't help. The infection continues to spread, into his jaw, into his blood. You visit him one evening. He's lying on a mat in his home, delirious. His skin is grey, his breath shallow and ragged. His wife sits beside him, stone-faced. She knows. He dies that night. The next day there's a funeral. Simple, quick. His body is wrapped in linen and carried to the edge of the desert, where a shallow grave has been dug. A priest says a few words. People throw handfuls of sand onto the body, then it's over. Everyone goes back to work. Caimwaset's place in the fields is filled immediately by his eldest son, who's maybe 12 years old. The boy picks up his father's hoe and starts working. No tears, no complaints, just work. Because in ancient Egypt, life doesn't stop for death. It can't. There's too much to do, too many mouths to feed. You mourn in your own way, quietly, privately. You think about Caimwaset's laugh, his patience when teaching you words in Egyptian, the way he shared his bread with you once when you'd gone a full day without eating. He was a good man. And now he's gone, from a toothache. It's a stark reminder of how fragile life is here, how quickly things can go wrong, how little separates the living from the dead. You become more careful after that. You avoid unnecessary risks. You try to take care of your teeth, chewing on sticks more regularly, avoiding the grittiest bread. You wash your hands before eating. You stay away from people who are obviously sick, but you know, deep down, that it might not matter. Death comes when it comes, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Chapter 17. The seasons change. The Nile floods again. You've been here long enough now to recognise the signs. The water level rises slowly, day by day, creeping up the banks. The current grows stronger. The colour changes from blue-green to muddy brown. Then, all at once, the river spills over. The fields disappear beneath the water. The entire landscape transforms. What was dry land becomes a vast, shallow lake, dotted with palm trees and buildings on, slightly higher ground. Work in the fields stops. There's nothing to do. Nothing to plant or harvest or irrigate. Instead, you're assigned to other tasks. Repairing tools, making bricks, building a storage facility for grain. The brick making is brutal in its own way. You mix mud and straw, pour it into wooden moulds, and leave the bricks to dry in the sun. Your hands are constantly caked in clay. Your back aches from bending over the moulds all day, but it's different from field work, and different in this context is almost refreshing. The flood lasts for months, Akhet season, the time of inundation, and then, gradually, the waters recede. The silt is left behind, thick, black, fertile. This is what makes Egypt possible, this annual gift from the gods. Planting begins again, Pere season. You're back in the fields, sowing seeds of emmer wheat and barley. The work is hard, but there's a sense of anticipation, hope, almost. If the crop is good, there will be food. If the crop fails, you don't think about that. Then comes Shomu, harvest season, the hottest time of year. You cut the wheat with a sickle, a curved blade attached to a wooden handle. The work is relentless, row after row of grain, bending and cutting, gathering and binding into sheaves. The chaff gets everywhere, in your hair, your eyes, your nose. You cough constantly. Your skin itches. The heat is unbearable. But you keep going, because everyone does. After the cutting comes the threshing. The sheaves are spread on a flat area and cattle are driven over them, trampling the grain to separate it from the stalks. Then the winnowing, tossing the grain into the air so the wind carries away the chaff. It's a communal effort. Everyone works together, singing sometimes to keep rhythm. There's a sense of urgency. The grain needs to be harvested, processed and stored before it rots or is eaten by pests. Finally it's done. The grain is stored in large clay jars and stone silos, guarded carefully. This is the village's lifeline. It's survival for the coming year. And then, almost before you can catch your breath, the cycle begins again. The Nile starts to rise. Flood, plant, harvest, repeat. This is life in ancient Egypt, tied completely to the river, to the seasons, to forces beyond anyone's control. You've lived through the cycle 3 times now, maybe 4. You've lost count. Time doesn't move forward here. It moves in circles. Chapter 18. The children. You notice the children more as time passes. They're everywhere. Running through the streets, playing in the dirt, helping with chores, working in the fields. Childhood, as you understand it, doesn't really exist here. There's no school, no toys, except for things they make themselves. Dolls from scraps of fabric, balls from bundled reeds. Children start working as soon as they're able. Around age 5 or 6 they begin helping with simple tasks. Carrying water, feeding animals, collecting dung for fuel. By age 10 they're working, almost as much as adults. Boys go to the fields, girls help with cooking, grinding grain, weaving. There's no protection, no concept that children should be sheltered from the harsh realities of life. They see death, they see illness, they see struggle, and they accept it, because that's all they've ever known. Many don't survive. Infant mortality is staggering. You've seen it yourself. A woman gives birth, the baby seems healthy. Then, a few days later, it's dead. Fever, infection, something unidentifiable. The mother mourns, but not for long. She has other children to care for, other work to do. Grief is a luxury. The children who do survive are tough, resilient. They laugh and play despite everything. They find joy in small things. A frog caught by the river, a game of chase, a stolen honey cake. You find yourself drawn to them sometimes. Their innocence, their resilience. There's a girl named Merit who often draws water from the well. She's maybe 7 or 8. She has a gap-toothed smile and a laugh that sounds like bells. She always greets you with a cheerful, "Em Hotep." Welcome in peace. You give her an extra piece of bread once. She beams and shares it with her younger brother, breaking it carefully in half. That moment stays with you. The simple generosity, the unselfishness. These children have nothing, and yet they share what little they have. It's humbling, and it makes you wonder what you've become, what this place has made you. Chapter 19. The violence. Ancient Egypt is not peaceful. There are no police, no courts, not really. Justice is local, immediate, and often brutal. You witness a theft one day. A man is caught stealing bread from a communal oven. He's grabbed by 2 others and dragged into the street. A crowd gathers. The man pleads, but no one listens. Stealing food is a serious crime. It affects everyone. They beat him. Fists, feet, sticks. He curls into a ball, trying to protect his head. Blood spatters on the ground, then it stops. He's left there, groaning, blooded. No one helps him. People simply step around him and go about their business. You want to help, but you don't. Because helping might make you a target, might associate you with a thief, might mark you as an outsider who doesn't understand how things work. So you walk away, like everyone else. Domestic violence is common too. You hear it at night, shouting, screaming, the sound of flesh hitting flesh. Sometimes it's a husband beating his wife. Sometimes it's a parent beating a child. No one intervenes. It's not your business, not anyone's business. What happens inside a home stays inside a home. And then there's the violence of labour. You see men collapse in the fields from exhaustion or heat stroke. You see injuries, a foot crushed by a falling stone, a hand sliced open by a sickle. There's no safety net, no workers' compensation. You're just replaced. The pharaoh's soldiers pass through occasionally. They're recruiting for a campaign, or collecting taxes. They take what they want. Food, animals, sometimes young men for the army. There's no refusing. You give what's demanded or you suffer the consequences. You learn to keep your head down, to avoid conflict, to make yourself small and unnoticeable. Because in ancient Egypt might makes right, and if you're weak, you're prey. Chapter 20. The loneliness. You've adapted. You've survived. You've even found a kind of routine, but you're still alone. Yes, you interact with people. You work alongside them. You eat with them. You exchange words and nods and the occasional smile. But you're not truly connected. Not the way you were in your old life, because no one here knows you. the real you, the person you were before you woke up in this place. You can't talk about your past, about your family, your friends, your world. They wouldn't understand. They'd think you were mad. You can't share your thoughts, your fears, your dreams. The language barrier is still there, even though you've learned enough to get by. And even if you could express yourself perfectly, the cultural gap is too wide. These people think differently, value different things, see the world through a lens shaped by gods and pharaohs and the eternal cycle of the Nile. You're an outsider, always, forever. At night, lying on your mat, you sometimes think about home. You try to remember faces, voices, places, but the memories are fading, blurring like old photographs. You wonder if anyone is looking for you, if anyone misses you, or if you simply vanished, leaving nothing but a mystery. You wonder if you'll ever get back, and deep down in a place you don't like to examine too closely, you wonder if you even want to. Because going back means leaving this behind. This life you've built, however humble. These people you've come to know. This identity you've crafted from nothing. You're not the person you were. You've changed, hardened, adapted. Going back might mean becoming a stranger in your own world. So you push the thoughts away. You focus on the present, on the work, on survival. Because thinking about home, about what you've lost, hurts too much. Chapter 21. The sandstorm. You're working in the fields when you see it. A wall of brown on the horizon, moving fast. The other workers notice too. They drop their tools and run, shouting warnings. You don't understand the words, but you understand the panic. You run too. The sandstorm hits within minutes. The wind howls. The sky darkens. Sand fills the air, so thick you can't see more than a few feet in front of you. You make it to the village, but just barely. People are rushing into their homes, slamming doors, covering windows and gaps with cloth. You stumble into your room and press yourself against the wall as the storm rages outside. The sound is deafening, like a freight train, like the world is ending. Sand seeps through every crack. It coats everything. The floor, the walls, your skin, your lungs. You cover your mouth and nose with your tunic, but it doesn't help much. You're breathing sand, tasting it, choking on it. The storm lasts for hours. When it finally passes, you emerge into an alien landscape. Everything is buried. The streets are knee-deep in sand. Roofs have collapsed. Animals lie dead, suffocated. People dig out in silence. There's no complaining, no questions, just work. You help. What else can you do? By nightfall, most of the sand has been cleared from the essential areas, but the damage is done. Food stores have been contaminated, tools are buried, crops are destroyed. This is a setback, a serious one. There will be less food now, tighter rations, hungrier times ahead, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Because in ancient Egypt, nature is not your friend. It's an adversary, unpredictable, uncontrollable, deadly. You go to sleep that night still tasting sand, still hearing the howl of the wind, and you realise, once again, how precarious survival is here, how quickly everything can change, how thin the line is between life and death. Chapter 22. The sickness spreads. A few weeks after the sandstorm, people start getting sick. It starts with the children, fevers, coughing, difficulty breathing. Within days, several are dead, then it spreads to the adults. You watch as person after person succumbs. Their skin burns with fever, they cough up blood, they waste away, unable to eat or drink. The village healers try everything. Herbs, prayers, amulets. Nothing works. Fear spreads faster than the sickness. People avoid each other. Families isolate in their homes. The streets, usually bustling, are eerily quiet. You try to stay healthy. You avoid close contact. You wash your hands obsessively. You pray to gods you don't believe in. But you know it's only a matter of time. And then, one morning, you wake with a scratchy throat and a pounding headache. Here it comes. The fever hits hard. You're too weak to work. Too weak to even leave your mat. You drift in and out of consciousness, your dreams fever-bright and surreal. At some point, Neferet appears. She brings water and a thin gruel. She doesn't speak, just sets them down and leaves quickly. You force yourself to drink, to eat, even though every swallow feels like knives. Days pass, maybe a week. You lose track. And then slowly the fever breaks. The cough eases. You're weak, emaciated, but alive. You survived. Not everyone does. The sickness claims about a third of the village. Bodies are buried quickly, without ceremony. There's no time for proper funerals. The village feels emptier now, quieter. The loss hangs heavy in the air. But life goes on, because it has to. Work resumes. The fields still need tending. The Nile still flows. The cycle continues. You return to the fields, still weak, still recovering, but grateful. Grateful to be alive, even in this harsh, unforgiving world. Chapter 23. The years pass. You've stopped counting. How long have you been here? 5 years? 10? More? Time has lost. Meaning. Your past life, your real life, feels like a story you once heard. Something that happened to someone else. You're older now. You can feel it. Your body moves differently. Slower. Stiffer. Your hair is longer, sun-bleached and tangled. Your skin is leather. Your hands are gnarled. You look like them now, the other villagers. You blend in completely. You speak the language fluently. You know the prayers. You observe the festivals. You work without complaint. You've become what you needed to become to survive. But inside, some part of you still remembers, still holds on to the knowledge that you don't belong here, that you're from somewhere, somewhen else. It's a strange duality, living fully in the present while carrying the ghost of another life. You've made peace with it mostly. This is your life now. This is who you are. The village has changed too. New children have been born. Old people have died. The cycle continues. Merit, the gap-toothed girl from the well, is a young woman now. She's married. She has a baby. You see her sometimes, carrying water just like she did as a child. She still smiles at you. Nefret is gone. She died during a childbirth that went wrong. You mourned her in your quiet way. New people have arrived, strangers from other villages, looking for work or fleeing drought. They integrate quickly, just like you did. The Nile floods, the crops grow, the harvest comes, flood, plant, harvest, repeat. This is life. This is all there is. You've stopped hoping for escape, stopped wondering if you'll ever return home, because this is home now, for better or worse. Chapter 24. The Temple Visit. One day, you're told to help transport grain to a temple. It's a rare task. Usually only specific workers are chosen, but someone is sick, and you're available. You load sacks of grain onto a wooden sledge pulled by oxen. The journey takes most of the day, following a dusty road that parallels the Nile. The temple is massive, towering pylons, enormous columns covered in hieroglyphs and painted images, statues of gods that dwarf human scale. You've never seen anything like it. The priests who receive the grain are clean, well-fed, their heads shaved and their linen robes pristine. They speak in quiet, measured tones. They smell of incense. You unload the grain under their watchful eyes, trying not to stare at the splendour around you. The temple courtyard is cool, shaded by stone. There are pools of water, gardens. The air is different here, refined, sacred. This is power. This is where the surplus goes. The grain you break your back to harvest feeds these priests, maintains this enormous structure, supports this parallel world of ritual and religion. You feel a flicker of resentment. Then you push it away. Resentment is useless. This is the way things are, the way they've always been. You finish unloading and begin the journey back. The temple disappears behind you, swallowed by the desert haze, but the memory of it lingers. Reminder that your world, the world of mud and sweat and endless labour, is only one layer of Egyptian society, and not the important one. Chapter 25. The Acceptance. You're sitting by the Nile one evening watching the sunset. The sky is painted in oranges and purples. The water reflects the colours, shimmering. Palm trees sway gently in the breeze. It's beautiful. You realise, with something like surprise, that you're content. Not happy. Content. You've survived. You've adapted. You've found a place in this world, however small. Yes, life is hard. Yes, you're poor, exhausted, and always one disaster away from death. But you're alive. You're part of something. Part of a community, a cycle, a tradition that stretches back thousands of years and will continue long after you're gone. There's something humbling about that. Something almost comforting. You think about the person you were before, the person from the 21st century. with their smartphones and coffee shops and climate control. That person wouldn't have survived a week here, but you did. You survived. And not just survived, you adapted, you changed, you became stronger. You've learned things about yourself you never would have discovered otherwise. Your capacity for endurance, for resilience, for acceptance. You've learned that comfort is not the same as happiness. That struggle can have meaning. That survival, in itself, is an achievement. You'll probably never leave this place, never return to your old life. And maybe that's okay. Because in a strange way, this life, this harsh, unforgiving, beautiful life, has given you something your old life never could. Purpose, simplicity, connection to something larger than yourself. You take a deep breath of the cooling desert air. Tomorrow, you'll wake before dawn. You'll work the fields. You'll eat bread and onions. You'll drink beer. You'll sleep on a reed mat. And the day after that, you'll do it again. Flood, plant, harvest, repeat. This is your life, and it's enough. Epilogue, the dream. That night, you dream. You're standing in your old apartment. Everything is exactly as you remember. The furniture, the lighting, the hum of electronics. You walk through the rooms, touching things. Your bed, soft and clean. Your refrigerator, cold and full of food. Your bathroom with its running water and flush toilet. It all feels alien now. Strange. Wrong. You look in the mirror. The person staring back is you. But not you. Your face is weathered. Your hair is long and unkempt. Your eyes are different. Harder. Older. Carrying the weight of years in a place that shouldn't exist for you. You touch the mirror. The glass is cool. A voice calls your name. Your real name. The one you haven't heard in years. You turn. There's a doorway you don't recognize. Beyond it, light. Bright. Warm. Inviting. You could walk through. You could go back. Leave this life behind. Return to comfort. To safety. To everything you lost. But you hesitate. Because you've changed. And going back means abandoning something too. The person you've become. The life you've built. The people you've known. The doorway waits. You stand there, caught between two worlds. And then you wake up. You're on your reed mat in your mud brick room. The first light of dawn is creeping through the gaps in the walls. Outside, a rooster crows. The village is waking up. You sit up slowly, your joints creaking. Another day. You stand. You stretch. You step outside into the cool morning air. The Nile flows in the distance, eternal and unchanging. Somewhere, someone is lighting a fire. Someone else is drawing water. Children's voices rise in laughter. You take a breath, and you begin walking toward the fields. Because this is your life, and you're still here. Still surviving, still trapped in ancient Egypt with no way out. But somehow, that's okay. Chapter 26. The New Arrival. 3 days after your dream, something unusual happens. A stranger arrives in the village. This isn't particularly rare. People come and go, traders, travellers, workers looking for employment. But this person is different. You notice them immediately. They're standing near the well, looking round with wide, confused eyes. Their movements are jerky, uncertain. They keep touching their tunic like they can't believe it's real. And their face, there's something in their expression. A kind of shock. A disorientation you recognise instantly. Because you've seen it before. In a mirror. Years ago. Your heart starts pounding. You approach slowly, carefully. The stranger doesn't notice you at first. They're too busy staring at everything. The mud brick buildings, the palm trees, the people drawing water. When you get close enough, you speak. In English. Are you okay? The stranger's head whips toward you. Their eyes go wide, their mouth opens. You speak English? Your heart nearly stops. It's been so long since you've heard your native language. So long since you've spoken it out loud. Yes, you say quietly. I speak English. The stranger stumbles toward you, almost falls. You catch them by the arm. What's happening? They ask, their voice cracking. Where am I? How did I get here? This can't be real. You look around. People are starting to notice, starting to stare. You need to move somewhere private. Come with me, you say, quickly. You lead them away from the well through the narrow streets back to your small room. Once inside, you close the wooden door and turn to face them. The stranger is shaking. They look like they're about to cry. or scream, or both. Sit down, you say. They collapse onto your reed mat, their legs giving out. You sit across from them, studying their face. They're young, early 20s maybe, dressed in the same rough linen tunic everyone wears, but they're soft, uncalloused. Their skin is pale, their hands unmarked by labour. They just arrived. Recently. Very recently. "What's your name?" you ask gently. "Sarah," they whisper. "My name is Sarah." "Sarah. Okay, You pause. You haven't said your real name in years. It feels strange on your tongue. Well, I go by a different name here, but that doesn't matter right now." "Where are we?" Sarah asks. "Please, I don't understand. I went to bed last night and then I woke up here and nothing makes sense and—" "Ancient Egypt," you say quietly. Sarah stares at you. "What?" "You're in ancient Egypt. Around 1400 BCE, I think. Maybe earlier, maybe later. It's hard to tell exactly." "That's impossible." "I know." "This is a dream. Or I'm in a coma. Or someone drugged me and this is some kind of elaborate—" "It's not," you interrupt. "Trust me. I went through all of this too. The denial, the theories, the desperate hope that it's anything other than what it actually is." Sarah's breathing is getting faster. They're hyperventilating. "Breathe," you say firmly. "Slow down, in through your nose, out through your mouth." Sarah tries, fails, tries again. Gradually their breathing steadies. "How long have you been here?" they finally ask. You pause. "I don't know exactly. Years. Maybe 10. Maybe more." Sarah's face goes pale. 10 years. Yeah. But that means... They trail off, the implications sinking in. "It means you might be here for a while," you say quietly. "Maybe forever. I don't know. I don't know how this works. I don't know why it happens. I just know it does." Sarah starts crying, quiet, desperate sobs. You let them. There's nothing you can say that will make this better. Nothing you can do except be present. After a while, the crying stops. Sarah wipes their face with the back of their hand. "What do I do?" they ask, their voice small. "You survive," you say. "You learn the language, you learn the customs, you work, you adapt. It's not easy. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. But it's possible. I'm proof of that." Sarah looks at you, really looks at you, taking in your weathered skin, your calloused hands, your lean, hardened frame. "You look so different," they say, from people back home." "I know. You will too, eventually." "I don't want to." "I know, but you don't have a choice." Sarah falls silent. You can see them processing, struggling, fighting against the reality that's crashing down on them. "There's no way back," they finally ask. "I haven't found one. And I've looked. I've tried. I've prayed to every god in this pantheon. Nothing works. So we're just stuck." "Yes." Sarah looks down at their hands. "I can't believe this is happening." "You will. Give it time." They look up at you. "How did you survive? How did you not just give up?" You think about that question. It's one you've asked yourself many times over the years. "I don't know," you admit. "At first I was just too stubborn to die. Then I was too busy trying to figure out how to get food and water. Then I was too exhausted to think about anything except making it through. Another day. And then, somewhere along the way, I stopped wanting to leave. This became my life, my reality, and I accepted it. I don't think I can do that. You don't have to. Not yet. Just focus on surviving today, then tomorrow, then the day after that. Don't think beyond that." Sarah nods slowly. "I'll help you," you say. "I'll teach you what I know, the language, the customs, how to work without destroying your body, where to find food and water, how to avoid getting sick, everything I've learned." "Why?" Sarah asks. "Why would you help me?" You consider the question. "Because someone should have been there to help me when I first arrived. Because I know what you're going through, and because..." You pause. "Because maybe having someone else here who understands, maybe that makes this bearable." For the first time since arriving, Sarah's expression softens slightly. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. This is going to be hell, but at least you won't go through it alone." Chapter 27. Teaching Sarah. The next few weeks are difficult. Sarah struggles with everything: the language, the work, the heat, the food, the lack of privacy, the absence of modern comforts. They cry a lot. especially at night when they think you can't hear them. You remember that feeling, the overwhelming grief, the desperate homesickness, the anger at the unfairness of it all. But you also remember that eventually it fades, or at least it becomes manageable. You start teaching Sarah Egyptian. Simple words first. Water. Bread. Yes. No. Hello. Thank you. Sarah is a quick learner, quicker than you were. They have an ear for languages, apparently. Within a week they can manage basic conversations. You teach them how to work, how to hold the hoe correctly so it doesn't tear up their hands, how to pace themselves so they don't collapse from exhaustion, how to protect their skin from the sun. Sarah's hands blister, then the blisters burst, then they start to callous. It's a painful process. You offer what comfort you can. You teach them the social rules, how to behave at the well, how to show respect to elders, how to avoid drawing unwanted attention, how to navigate the complex web of village relationships. Sarah makes mistakes, lots of them. They accidentally insult someone by using the wrong tone. They eat before others are served, breaching etiquette. They ask inappropriate questions, but they learn. Slowly. Painfully. But they learn. One evening, about a month after Sarah's arrival, you're both sitting outside your room eating bread and onions. "I never thought I'd miss pizza this much," Sarah says quietly. You smile. Pizza? God, I haven't thought about pizza in years. What about coffee? I'd kill for a decent cup of coffee. I'd settle for mediocre coffee. Hell, I'd settle for bad coffee. You both laugh. It feels good. Strange, but good. "Do you remember your life before?" Sarah asks. "Or has it faded?" "Some of it's faded," you admit. The details, faces, specific memories. But the big things... Yeah, I remember. "I'm scared I'll forget," Sarah says. "I'm scared I'll lose who I was." "You will," you say honestly. At least partially. You have to. That person can't survive here. But that doesn't mean you lose everything. You just change, adapt, become someone new. Is that what happened to you? Yeah. Sarah is quiet for a moment. Do you regret it? The changes? You think about that. No, I don't think I do. The person I was before, they were softer, weaker. They took everything for granted. They didn't appreciate what they had. This version of me is harder, but also stronger, more resilient, more grateful for small things. I don't want to become hard, Sarah says. You don't have a choice. This place will harden you whether you want it to or not. But that's not necessarily bad. Hard doesn't mean cruel. It just means you can withstand things that would have broken you before, Sarah nods slowly. I guess I see what you mean. You finish your bread in comfortable silence. The sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The air is finally cooling. In the distance you can hear children laughing. Thank you, Sarah says suddenly, for helping me, for being here. I don't think I could do this alone. You're welcome, and you're not alone. Not anymore. Chapter 28. The Bond. Over the following months, something shifts between you and Sarah. At first you're just a mentor and student. You teach, they learn. Simple. But gradually it becomes more. A friendship, a partnership, a connection forged in the shared experience of displacement. You start working together in the fields. You develop a rhythm. You understand each other without needing words. When Sarah starts to falter, you pick up their slack. When you're having a bad day, they do the same for you. At night, you talk. About everything and nothing. About your past lives. About Earth. About technology and movies and music and all the things you've lost. Sometimes you debate whether you're in an alternate timeline or if you've somehow travelled back in your own. Whether your disappearance caused ripples in the 21st century or if time simply moved on without you. There are no answers, just theories. But the conversations help. They keep your memories alive. They remind you that you're not crazy, that your past was real. Sarah tells you about their family, their mother who worried constantly, their younger brother who was always getting into trouble, their best friend, who they'd known since kindergarten. You share your own memories, carefully, selectively. It hurts too much to remember everything. One night Sarah asks, "Do you think they're looking for us? Do you think they remember us?" "I don't know," you say honestly. "I used to think about that a lot, but it's been so long now. I've made my peace with not knowing." "I haven't," Sarah says quietly. "I think about my mum every day. wondering if she's okay, if she's still alive, if she thinks I abandoned her. You didn't abandon anyone, this wasn't your choice. I know, but it still feels like my fault somehow. You understand that feeling, the irrational guilt, the sense that somehow you should have prevented this. It's not your fault, you say firmly. Whatever this is, whatever caused it, it's not your fault. Sarah doesn't respond, but you see them wipe their eyes. The next day you notice something different. Sarah is quieter, more withdrawn. They work mechanically without their usual determination. At lunch, they barely eat. What's wrong? You ask. Nothing. Sarah. They sigh. I'm tired. Of all of this. Of working every day, of being hungry all the time, of never being clean, of never having a moment of privacy or comfort or anything. I know. Do you ever think about just giving up? The question hangs in the air. Yes, you say finally, especially in the beginning. There were days when I thought about just walking into the desert and not coming back. Days when I thought about wading into the Nile and letting the current take me. What stopped you? Stubbornness mostly, and curiosity. I wanted to see if I could survive, if I could adapt, if I could make it work. You pause. And after a while, I started finding things worth living for. Small things. A sunset, a good piece of bread, a conversation, the satisfaction of making it through another day. That doesn't seem like enough. It wasn't, not at first, but over time those small things add up. They become a life, not the life you wanted, but a life nonetheless. Sarah looks at you. Does it get easier? Yes and no. The physical part gets easier. Your body adapts. The emotional part, that's harder. Some days are better than others, but you learn to carry it. I don't know if I can. You can. You're stronger than you think. Sarah doesn't look convinced, but they nod. Over the next few weeks, you keep a closer eye on them. You make sure they're eating, drinking enough water, getting enough rest. You try to find small ways to make their life a little more bearable, and slowly they start to stabilize. The darkness lifts, at least a little. They smile more. They complain less. They start to engage with the world around them instead of just enduring it. One evening, they turn to you and say, "I'm glad you're here. I don't think I would have made it without you." You would have, you say. You're tougher than you give yourself credit for. Maybe, but having you here makes it bearable. You feel something warm in your chest, a feeling you haven't felt in years. Connection, belonging, friendship. In this harsh, unforgiving world, you found something precious. Someone who understands. Someone who shares your burden. It doesn't make the hardship disappear, but it makes it easier to carry. Chapter 29. The accident. It happens on a day like any other. You and Sarah are working in the fields. The sun is high. The heat is oppressive. You're both tired, moving slowly, conserving energy. Sarah is working a few rows over. You can hear the rhythmic chop of their hoe hitting the earth. Then the rhythm stops. You look up. Sarah is standing still, staring at their foot. Then they scream. You drop your hoe and run. By the time you reach them, they're on the ground, clutching their foot. Blood is seeping through their fingers. "What happened?" you ask, kneeling beside them. "The hoe!" Sarah gasps. "I missed. Hit my foot." You gently move their hands away. The wound is deep. A gash across the top of their foot, just below the ankle. Blood is flowing steadily. Your stomach drops. This is bad. Very bad. Infections are common here. Deadly. A wound like this could easily turn septic. And if it does, you force yourself to stay calm. "Okay, we need to stop the bleeding. Hold still." You tear a strip from your tunic and wrap it tightly around Sarah's foot. The blood soaks through immediately. You add another layer, then another. Finally, the bleeding slows to a trickle. "Can you walk?" you ask. "I don't know." "Try. We need to get you back to the village." With your help, Sarah stands. They put weight on the injured foot and immediately cry out in pain. Okay. Lean on me." You drape Sarah's arm over your shoulder and half carry, half drag them back to the village. It's slow going. Sarah is whimpering with every step. Sweat pours off both of you. By the time you reach your room, you're both exhausted. You help Sarah onto your mat. Then you unwrap the makeshift bandage to examine the wound. It's still bleeding, but not as badly. The cut is clean, at least. No foreign matter, that's good. but it's deep, and it's going to need care. Constant care. I'm going to find a healer, you say? No, Sarah says quickly. We can't afford it. I don't care. You need help. We barely have enough food as it is. We can't. Sarah, you need a healer. I'll figure out the payment later. Before they can argue further, you leave. You find the village healer, an old woman named Yarette, at her home. You explain the situation. She nods and follows you back. Yarette examines the wound with practiced hands. She makes a clicking sound with her tongue. Deep, she says in Egyptian. Needs cleaning, stitching maybe. Can you help, you ask? She looks at you. What can you pay? You hesitate. You have almost nothing. Some grain. A clay pot. Nothing of real value. I can work, you say finally. Whatever you need, I'll work for you. Yarette considers, then nods. 10 days. You help me gather plants. Prepare medicines. 10 days, and I treat your friend. Done. Yarette begins her work. She cleans the wound with water mixed with salt. Sarah cries out. You hold their hand. Then Yarette applies a paste made from honey and herbs. She wraps the foot in clean linen. Change the bandage daily, she instructs. Keep it clean. If red streaks appear, come immediately. Red streaks. Infection. Spreading. Very dangerous. Your blood runs cold. And if that happens, we'll see. Her expression is grim. After she leaves, you sit with Sarah. They're exhausted, pale from pain and blood loss. You didn't have to do that, Sarah says quietly. The work. For her. Yes, I did. But 10 days. Sarah, you're my friend. I'm not going to let you die from an infected foot if I can help it. Sarah's eyes well up. Thank you. You squeeze their hand. Get some rest. I'll bring you food and water. Over the next week, you tend to Sarah's wound obsessively. You change the bandage twice daily. You watch for any sign of infection. Redness, swelling, red streaks radiating from the wound. Meanwhile, you fulfill your obligation to Yarette. You wake before dawn and work your regular day in the fields. Then, after sunset, you go to Yarette's home and help her. You learn to identify medicinal plants, to prepare poultices and tinctures, to grind herbs and mix compounds. It's exhausting. You're working from before sunrise to late into the night. You barely sleep. Your body aches constantly. But Sarah's wound shows no signs of infection. The edges begin to close. The redness fades. On the 10th day, Yarette examines the foot one final time. Good, she pronounces. Healing well. Your friend is lucky. You nearly collapse with relief. Thank you, you say. Yarette nods. You're a good worker. If you want to learn more about healing, come back. I could use an apprentice. It's a surprising offer. An opportunity, even. But you're too tired to think about it now. I'll consider it, you say. That night you return to find Sarah sitting up, looking better than they have in days. I heard, Sarah says, from Yarette. The wound is healing. Yeah, you saved my life. You would have done the same for me. Sarah smiles. Yeah, I would have. You sit down beside them, finally allowing yourself to relax. We make a good team, Sarah says. Yeah, we do. Chapter 30. The Proposition. A few weeks after Sarah's injury has fully healed, you're approached by Yarette again. You're at the well, drawing water for the day. She appears beside you, silent as always. I meant what I said, she says without preamble, about the apprenticeship. You pause, the rope slack in your hands. I remember. You have the hands for healing. Gentle, careful, and you learn quickly. I'm flattered, but fieldwork will destroy you, she interrupts. You're strong now, but in 5 years, 10, your back will give out. Your hands will cripple. You'll work until you can't, and then you'll starve. You know she's right. You've seen it happen. Older workers, bent and broken, unable to keep up, discarded, forgotten. Healing is different, Yarette continues. You use your mind more than your body, and people always need healers. You'll eat, you'll have status, you'll survive. What about Sarah? What about them? They depend on me. We work together. They're young, strong, they'll manage. You're not. Sure about that. But Yarette has a point. This could be an opportunity, a way out of the endless cycle of field labour. I need to think about it, you say. Yarette nods. Don't think too long. Opportunities don't wait. That evening you discuss it with Sarah. You should do it, they say immediately. Are you sure? I don't want to leave you. I'm not a child, Sarah interrupts. I can take care of myself. And besides, this is good for you, for both of us, really. If you become a healer, we'll have access to medicine, knowledge, that's valuable. But the field work? I'll manage. I've learnt enough. I'll be fine. You study their face, looking for doubt, but Sarah seems genuine. Okay, you say finally. I'll tell Yaret tomorrow. Sarah grins. Look at you, moving up in the world. You laugh despite yourself. Moving up, sure, from field worker to healer's apprentice, the height of ambition. Hey, in ancient Egypt that's actually a pretty big deal. They're right, it is. The next day you accept Yaret's offer. Your life changes almost immediately. Instead of spending your days in the fields, you spend them in Yaret's home, learning. You learn to identify dozens of plants. Which ones reduce fever? Which ones stop bleeding? Which ones ease pain? Which ones are deadly? You learn to prepare medicines. Grinding, mixing, boiling, straining. It's precise work. Meditative almost. You learn to examine patients, to read signs of illness in their skin, their eyes, their breath, to feel for fever, to listen to their complaints and piece together a diagnosis. It's fascinating, challenging. So different from the mindless repetition of field work. You still see Sarah every day, you share meals, you talk. But your lives are starting to diverge slightly. Sarah continues working the fields. They've made friends with other workers. They're integrating into village life in a way you never quite did. You, meanwhile, are entering a different world. The world of specialised knowledge, of status, of respect. People start treating you differently. They nod when you pass. They ask for your advice. Children are told to listen when you speak. It's strange, uncomfortable almost. You're still the same person. But your role has changed, and with it, your place in the social hierarchy. One evening, several months into your apprenticeship, Yaret calls you over. You're ready, she says. Ready for what? To treat someone on your own, no supervision. Your stomach flips. I don't know if... You're ready, she repeats firmly. Trust yourself. The next day a woman comes to you. She's holding a child, maybe 3 years old, who's burning with fever. You examine the child carefully. The fever, the lethargy, the lack of appetite, the rash on the torso. You've seen this before. You know what it is. You prepare a tincture from willow bark to reduce the fever. You give the mother instructions. Keep the child cool. Encourage them to drink. Watch for worsening symptoms. The mother thanks you and leaves. You spend the next 2 days anxious, worried you missed something, worried the child will die and it will be your fault. On the 3rd day the mother returns. The child is with her, awake, alert, fever gone. Thank you, the mother says, pressing a small bundle of dried fish into your hands. You saved my child. You accept the gift, speechless. This is what healing feels like. This is why Yaret does this work, not for wealth or status, but for this. The knowledge that you helped, that you made a difference. It's a powerful feeling, and you realise, for the first time in years, that you're not just surviving anymore. You're living, building something, creating a role for yourself in this world. You're not just trapped in ancient Egypt. You're part of it. Chapter 31. The Epidemic. It starts with one person, a merchant who passed through the village 3 days ago. He seemed fine then, but now he's dead. Fever, vomiting, convulsions. Then his family gets sick, then the neighbours, then half the village. It spreads fast, faster than anything you've seen before. People are dying, not just the old and weak, everyone. Children, young adults, healthy workers. The village is in chaos. People are terrified. Some families barricade themselves in their homes, refusing to come out. Others flee to the desert, hoping to escape the contagion. You and Yaret work around the clock. You mix medicines. You treat the sick. You offer what comfort you can. But there's only so much you can do. The medicines help with the symptoms, reducing fever, easing pain, but they can't cure the disease itself. People either recover on their own or they don't. You lose track of how many you treat, how many survive, how many die. Your hands are stained with herbs. Your clothes reek of sickness. Your eyes burn from lack of sleep. Sarah comes to you one evening. They look exhausted, haunted. Neferet's family, they say quietly. All dead. All of them. You close your eyes. Neferet was the first person who showed you kindness when you arrived. She's been gone for years, but her family remained. Now they're gone too. How are you holding up, you ask. I'm tired, scared, but I'm not sick. Not yet. Stay away from the sick if you can. Drink plenty of water. Wash your hands. I know, you've told me 100 times. They sit down beside you. For a moment neither of you speaks. Do you think we'll survive this? Sarah asks finally. I don't know. Honest as always. Would you prefer I lie? No, I guess not. The epidemic lasts for 3 weeks. When it finally burns out, nearly a third of the village is dead. The survivors are hollow-eyed, grieving, traumatized. Burial becomes a full-time job. There are too many bodies, not enough time to prepare them properly. They're wrapped quickly and buried in mass graves at the edge of the desert. You attend many of the funerals. You feel obligated. These were your patients, people you tried to save, people you failed. Yaret finds you one evening sitting alone outside your room. You can't save everyone, she says. I know. Do you? Because you look like someone carrying the weight of all those deaths. I should have done more. Should have... You did everything you could, Yaret interrupts. Sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes people die no matter what you do. That's the reality of healing. How do you live with that? By remembering the ones who lived, the ones you did save. They matter too. You nod, but it doesn't ease the guilt. In the following days, you force yourself to continue, to return to work, to treat the survivors who are dealing with lingering effects of the disease or other ailments. Sarah checks on you regularly. They bring you food. They sit with you when you're too exhausted to talk. They simply exist beside you, a quiet presence in the darkness. One night, Sarah says, You saved a lot of people. I heard them talking. They were saying that without you and Yaret, the entire village might have died. But so many still did. Yes, but think about how many didn't. Because of you. You want to argue, but you're too tired. Thank you, you say instead. For what? For being here. For reminding me why I do this. Sarah smiles sadly. That's what friends are for. Chapter 32. The years continue. Life slowly returns to normal, or what passes for normal in ancient Egypt. The fields are worked again, the well is busy. Children play in the streets, the cycle continues. You continue your training with Yaret. You become more skilled, more confident, more respected. Sarah continues working the fields, but they've also started helping at the pottery workshop occasionally. They discovered they have a knack for shaping clay. The potter, an older man named Tahotep, has taken them under his wing. I might become a potter, Sarah tells you one evening, if Tahotep will have me as a proper apprentice. That's great, you say, and you mean it. Sarah has found their place here, just like you have. You're both survivors now, not just physically, but in every sense of the word. You've adapted, integrated, become part of the fabric of this ancient world. Sometimes, late at night, you still think about your old life, about the 21st century, about everything you left behind. But those thoughts are less painful now, more like old photographs, memories of someone you used to be. This is who you are now, a healer in a small Egyptian village, a friend, a survivor. The years pass, you mark them by the floods, by the seasons, by the changes in the village. Children you treated as infants grow into young adults. Young adults become parents, the elderly die, new people arrive. Yaret grows older, frailer. She starts relying on you more. You take on more responsibilities, more patience. One day she tells you, when I'm gone, you'll be the village healer. Don't talk like that. You'll be around for years. She smiles. Perhaps. But when the time comes, you'll be ready. You're a good healer. Better than I was at your age. It's high praise. You accept it with gratitude. Sarah's apprenticeship with Tahotep becomes formal. They move into a small room near the pottery workshop. They're making their own pieces now, selling them in the market. You see each other less frequently, but the bond remains. When you do meet, it's comfortable, easy, like no time has passed at all. One evening, you're both sitting by the Nile watching the sunset. Do you ever think about going back? Sarah asks. Sometimes, not as much as I used to. Me too, it's strange. I used to think about it constantly. But now, this feels more real, like my old life was the dream. I know what you mean. Do you think we'll ever leave? Ever find a way back? You consider the question. Honestly? No, I think we're here for good. And you're okay with that? Yeah, I am, are you? Sarah pauses, then nods. Yeah, I think I am too. You sit in silence, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The sky turns orange, then purple, then dark. The Nile flows on, eternal and unchanging. And you realise that you're content. Not happy in the way you were before, but content in a deeper, more fundamental way. You've survived, you've adapted, you've built a life, and that's enough. Chapter 33, Yaret's Death. It happens in the middle of the night. You're awakened by a frantic pounding on your door. It's one of Yaret's neighbours. Come quickly, they say. Yaret, you need to come. You grab your medicine bag and run. When you arrive, Yaret is lying on her mat, her breathing shallow and laboured. Her skin is ashen. Her eyes are closed. You kneel beside her and check her pulse. It's weak, thready. What happened? You ask. She complained of chest pain, the neighbour says. Then she collapsed. You know immediately what this is. Heart failure. There's nothing you can do. No medicine. No treatment. Just wait. You hold Yaret's hand and sit with her. Her breathing becomes more laboured, more irregular. Then, just before dawn, she takes one final rattling breath and goes still. You close her eyes gently. The village mourns. Yaret was well loved, respected. She helped countless people over her long life. The funeral is large. People come from neighbouring villages. They share stories. They bring offerings. You're asked to speak. You're not sure what to say. But you stand and talk about what Yaret taught you, about her wisdom, her patience, her dedication to healing. She gave me a new life, you say, your voice steady despite the grief. When I was lost, she gave me purpose. She taught me that survival isn't just about enduring, it's about helping others endure too. After the funeral, after Yaret is laid to rest in a simple tomb at the desert's edge, you return to her home. It's yours now, by tradition, by expectation, by the simple fact that you're the only healer left. You walk through the rooms, touching her things, the grinding, stones for herbs, the clay jars labelled in her careful hand, the reed mats where patients sat, the smell of dried plants and incense. This is your responsibility now, your legacy to carry forward. Sarah finds you there that evening, sitting amid the herbs and medicines. How are you holding up? They ask. I don't know. She was like a teacher, a mentor, almost like a mother in some ways. She was proud of you. She told me once that you were the best student she'd ever had. You wipe your eyes. I hope I can live up to that. You will. You already do. Over the next few weeks, you settle into your new role. Patients come to you now, not to Yaret. They bring their sick children, their fevers, their injuries, their fears. You treat them all. You use everything Yaret taught you. And when you encounter something you don't know, you experiment carefully, combining herbs and techniques, learning through trial and error. You're the village healer now. It's a weight, but also an honour. Chapter 34. The Visiting Scribe. One day, something unusual happens. A scribe arrives in the village. Not a local, someone from the city. From Thebes, you learn later. He's here to conduct a census, to record the population for tax purposes. It's a formal process. Important. You watch from a distance as he sets up in the village centre, unfurling papyrus, preparing his reed pen and ink. The headman of the village, a gruff older man named Amenemhat, approaches you that evening. The scribe needs to record everyone, he says, including you. Your stomach clenches. Why me specifically? You're the healer. That's an important role. He needs to record it. The next day you approach the scribe's station. He's young, maybe in his late 20s, with the soft hands and clean linen of someone who's never worked a field. He looks up as you approach. Name. You give him your Egyptian name, the one you've been using for years now. He writes it down in quick, elegant hieratic script. Then he asks your age, your occupation, your family status. You answer mechanically. Age, you estimate. You've lost exact track. Occupation, healer. Family, none. He pauses at that last one. No family, no spouse, no children. No. He makes a mark on the papyrus. Then he looks at you more carefully. You're not from here originally, are you? Your heart skips. What do you mean? Your accent. It's strange. Foreign. You choose your words carefully. I came from far away, a long time ago. He studies you for a moment longer, then shrugs. Many people travel. The empire is vast. He finishes recording your information and dismisses you. You walk away, shaken. It's the first time in years that someone has noticed you're different. The first time your otherness has been acknowledged. That night you can't sleep. You keep thinking about the scribe, about the papyrus, about the fact that your name is now recorded in some official document that might survive for thousands of years. It's surreal, disturbing, fascinating. You're part of history now, not just living through it, but recorded in it, preserved in ink and papyrus. When the scribe leaves 3 days later, you feel a strange sense of relief, and also loss, because his presence reminded you that there's a larger world beyond this village. Cities, temples, palaces, the grand sweep of Egyptian civilization, and you're just a tiny part of it, a single name on a papyrus scroll, a healer in a forgotten village. But you're here. You exist. You matter, at least to the people you help, and perhaps that's enough. Chapter 35, Sarah's Marriage. Sarah comes to you one evening with news. I'm getting married, they say. You're grinding herbs and you nearly drop the pestle. What? Married, to Seneb, the potter's son. You know Seneb, a quiet young man, skilled with his hands, kind eyes. He's been working alongside Sarah at the pottery workshop for the past year. That's wonderful, you say, and you mean it. Congratulations, Sarah grins. I know it's strange. A few years ago I never would have imagined. But Seneb is good. We work well together, and I think I love him. You think? I know, I do. It's different from what I imagined love would be, but it's real. You embrace Sarah. I'm happy for you. The wedding is simple, a brief ceremony at the local shrine, an exchange of vows, a feast with bread, beer, roasted duck and honey cakes. You attend, watching as Sarah, your friend, your fellow time traveller, your partner in survival, begins a new chapter. Sarah is fully integrated now, more than you ever have been. They have a spouse, a trade, a place in the community. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. After the ceremony, Sarah pulls you aside. Thank you, they say. For what? For everything. For saving my life when I first got here. For teaching me. For being my friend. I couldn't have done any of this without you. You would have figured it out. Maybe. But it would have been a lot harder. You smile. You're going to be happy, I can tell. I hope so. And you? Are you happy? You consider the question. I'm content. That's close enough. You should find someone too, you know. It doesn't have to be lonely. I'm not lonely. I have my work. I have you. I have a place here. Sarah doesn't push, but you can see the concern in their eyes. After the wedding, your interactions with Sarah become less frequent. They're busy with their new life, their new family. You're happy for them, truly. But there's a small ache of loss, because Sarah was your last real connection to your old world. And now they're moving forward, building a new life, while you're... What are you doing? Surviving, healing, existing. Is that enough? You're not sure anymore. Chapter 36. The Apprentice. Several months after Sarah's wedding, a young girl starts following you around. She's maybe 10 years old, thin and scrappy with intelligent eyes and quick hands. Her name is Nefertari. At first, she just watches. She sits outside your home while you work, peering through the doorway, observing. Then she starts asking questions. What's that plant? Why do you grind it? What does it do? Can I try? You're annoyed at first. You don't have time for a curious child. You have patience, responsibilities. But Nefertari is persistent and intelligent. She remembers everything you tell her. She notices details. She has gentle hands. One day, you're treating a child with a fever. Nefertari is watching as usual. Hand me the willow bark, you say without thinking. Nefertari doesn't hesitate. She reaches into your medicine bag, finds the correct jar and hands it to you. You pause, surprised. How did you know which one? You used it last time, for fever, I remember. You look at her properly for the first time. Really look at her. She reminds you of yourself. Curious, determined, hungry for knowledge. Do you want to learn, you ask? Her face lights up. Yes, more than anything. It's hard work, long hours. You'll see terrible things, sick people, dying people. It's not glamorous. I don't care. I want to learn. You consider, then nod. All right, you can be my apprentice, but you have to listen. You have to follow instructions exactly, and you have to be prepared to work harder than you've ever worked before. I will, I promise. And she does. Nefertari becomes your shadow. She helps you gather plants. She grinds herbs. She watches you treat patients, absorbing everything. She's a natural, quick to learn, gentle with patience, unafraid of blood or sickness. Training her gives you purpose. It's not just about surviving anymore, it's about passing on knowledge, ensuring that the healing continues after you're gone. Hiret did this for you. Now you're doing it for Nefertari. The cycle continues. One evening, several years into Nefertari's apprenticeship, she asks, "Where are you from?" "You're preparing a poultice." You don't look up. "What do you mean?" "You're different from everyone else. The way you talk, the way you think, you're not from here." You carefully measure out honey. "I'm from far away. Very far." "How far?" "You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me." You look at her. She's older now. 15, maybe 16. No longer a child. A young woman. Capable. Trustworthy. "I'm from a place that doesn't exist yet," you say carefully. "A time that hasn't happened." Nefertari frowns. "I don't understand." "I know. Neither do I, really. But one day I was in one world, and the next I was here. And I've been here ever since." "Are you a spirit? Or a god?" You laugh, though there's no humour in it. "No, I'm very human, just displaced." Nefertari absorbs this in silence. Then she says, "Does it make you sad, being so far from home?" "Sometimes. But this is home now. This is where I belong." She nods, accepting. "Good, because we need you." It's a simple statement, but it moves you deeply. You're needed. You have purpose. You have a legacy. And somehow, that makes all the hardship worth it. Chapter 37. The Raiding Party. It happens without warning. You're in your home, grinding herbs when you hear shouting, screaming, the clash of metal. You run outside, chaos, people running, children crying, and men, strange men, armed with bronze weapons, moving through the village, grabbing whatever they can. Food, tools, animals, raiders, from a neighbouring territory likely, taking advantage of the village's relative prosperity. You see a Menemat, the village headman, trying to organise a defence. But most of the men are in the fields. There aren't enough fighters here. One of the raiders spots you. He grins, showing missing teeth, and starts toward you. Your mind goes blank with fear. Then training kicks in. You're not a fighter, but you're a survivor. You grab a heavy clay jar from beside your door and hurl it. It shatters against the raider's shoulder. He stumbles, surprised. You run. Behind you, you hear him cursing, chasing. You dart between buildings, using your knowledge of the village's layout to your advantage. You're faster, more agile. You lose him in the narrow streets and hide in a storage building, pressing yourself against the wall, breathing hard. The raid lasts maybe an hour, but it feels like forever. Finally, the raiders leave, their arms full of plunder, dragging a few unfortunate villagers with them. Captives, slaves. The village is in shambles, buildings damaged, food stores ransacked, several people injured or dead. You emerge from hiding and immediately get to work. There are wounds to treat. Burns, broken bones, shock and trauma. You work through the night. Nefertari helps, following your instructions, never flinching despite the blood and tears. By dawn, you've done what you can. But the damage is extensive. The village has lost precious resources, people, security. In the following days, men are organised into watch groups. Defences are strengthened. Everyone is on edge, jumping at shadows. Sarah comes to check on you. "Are you all right?" they ask. "I'm fine. Shaken, but fine." "I heard you threw a jar at one of them." "I didn't have much choice." Sarah manages a weak smile. "Look at you. From helpless time traveller to pot-throwing badass." Despite everything, you laugh. I'm not sure badass is the right word. Close enough. The raid is a stark reminder that safety is an illusion here. Violence can come at any moment. There's no police, no army to protect you, just your wits and luck. You double down on your work, because healing is the one thing you can control, the one way you can make a difference, and in this harsh world, that matters. Chapter 38. The Flood That Didn't Come. It's Akhet season, the time of inundation. The Nile should be rising, but it isn't. The water level stays low. disturbingly low. People start to worry, then panic. Without the flood, there will be no new silt. Without silt, the crops will fail. Without crops, there will be famine. The priests perform extra ceremonies. Offerings are made to Happy, god of the Nile. Animals are sacrificed. Prayers are chanted day and night. But the river doesn't rise. By the time it becomes clear that the flood will be insufficient, preparations begin for hard times ahead. Grain stores are inventoried. Rationing is discussed. Plans are made. You've lived through famines before, early in your time here. You know what's coming. The slow creep of hunger. The hollow eyes. The bodies that waste away. You start preserving what you can, drying fish, storing roots and vegetables, preparing for the worst. When planting season comes, the fields are dry. Irrigation helps, but it's not enough. The crops struggle. Many don't survive. The harvest is dismal, maybe a third of what's normal. Rationing begins immediately. Bread portions are cut, beer is watered down, meat disappears entirely. People start to look gaunt. Children cry from hunger. The elderly grow weak. You do what you can. You treat illnesses exacerbated by malnutrition. You advise on what plants can be foraged from the desert. You ration your own food to almost nothing, giving your portions to those who need it more. Nefertari watches you with concern. You need to eat too. I'm fine. You're not. You're getting thin. Weak. There are children who need this food more than I do. If you die, who will treat them? It's a valid point. Reluctantly, you force yourself to eat a little more. The famine lasts 6 months. By the end, the village has lost almost a quarter of its population, mostly the very young and very old. The most vulnerable. You're exhausted, emotionally drained. You've watched too many people die, too many families torn apart. When the next flood finally comes, a good one, strong and high, the relief is palpable. The land is renewed. Planting begins with new hope, but the memory of the famine lingers. It's a reminder of how precarious life is here, how dependent on forces beyond anyone's control. You've survived another crisis, but at what cost? Chapter 39, The Grey in Your Hair. One morning you catch your reflection in a still basin of water. There's grey in your hair. Quite a bit of it, actually. When did that happen? You touch your face. The lines are deeper than you remember. Your skin is weathered, marked by years of sun and wind. You're getting old. By ancient Egyptian standards, you're already old. You've lived longer than most people here. How old are you, actually? You try to calculate. You were, 25 when you arrived? Maybe. And you've been here 15 years? 20? You've honestly lost count. You could be 40. You could be 50. You don't know. Your body knows, though. Your joints ache in the morning. Your back is perpetually sore. Your hands are developing arthritis from years of grinding herbs. You're slowing down. Not much, but noticeably. Nefertari has taken on more responsibilities. She treats many patients on her own now. You supervise, advise, but increasingly she's doing the work. That's good. That's what's supposed to happen. You're training your replacement, but it also means confronting your own mortality. You won't be here forever. Eventually Nefertari will be the healer, and you'll be gone. The thought doesn't frighten you as much as it once would have. You've made peace with death. You've seen it too often not to, but there's a bittersweetness to it. You've lived an entire life here, a life you never planned, a life that shouldn't have been possible. And yet, here you are, grey-haired, aging, real. Sarah visits one evening. They have children now, 2 of them, a boy and a girl. They bring them sometimes when they visit. You're looking tired, Sarah observes. I'm old. We're both old. It's true, Sarah has grey too. Lines around their eyes, the softness of middle age. You're both survivors. Still here, still going. Do you ever regret it? Sarah asks quietly. Staying, not fighting harder to get back. You think about it. No. What about you? No. This is my life now. Seneb, the kids, the pottery. It's not what I imagined, but it's real. It's mine. Same. You sit in comfortable silence, watching Sarah's children play in the fading light. This is your legacy, in a way. Not children of your own body, but Sarah, Nefertari, the patients you've treated, the knowledge you've passed on. You're woven into this world now, permanently, irrevocably, and when you're gone, pieces of you will remain, in the people you taught, in the lives you saved, in the stories that might be told. It's enough. It has to be. Chapter 40. The final sunset years pass. More years than you can easily count. You're old now, truly old. Your hair is fully grey. Your body is bent. Walking is difficult. Nefertari is the village healer now, has been for years. You're the emeritus, the advisor, the old one who sits in the shade and dispenses wisdom. It's a good life. Quiet. Peaceful. Sarah's children are adults now. One of them, the daughter, is learning pottery from Sarah. The cycle continues. You don't work much anymore. Your hands shake too much, your eyes are weak, but you still teach. You still share stories, and you still remember everything. Your old life, your journey, the person you were and the person you became. One evening, you're sitting outside your home, watching the sunset. The sky is magnificent, orange and gold and purple. The Nile reflects the colours, turning to liquid fire. Nefertari sits beside you. She's a woman now, 40 maybe, with children of her own, and her own apprentice, a boy named Konzu. Tell me again, she says, about where you came from. You've told her before, many times, but she likes to hear it. I came from a time far in the future, you begin. A time with machines that could think, buildings that touched the sky, lights that never dimmed, people who lived in comfort, who never knew real hunger or hardship. It sounds like paradise. It was in some ways, but it was also empty. People were alone, even when surrounded by others. They had everything and nothing. And you prefer this. You look around, at the mud brick buildings, at the people moving through the streets, at the eternal Nile flowing past. I prefer this, you say. It's harder, but it's real. People matter here. Community matters. Survival matters. Nefertari nods. I'm glad you came here, even if it wasn't your choice, because you've saved so many lives, mine included. And you'll save many more, long after I'm gone. Don't talk like that. Why not? I'm old. My time is coming. That's natural. Nefertari is quiet. Then she says, when you die, what happens to your spirit? Where will it go? It's a question you've pondered many times. I don't know. Maybe back to where I came from. Maybe to the Egyptian afterlife. Maybe nowhere. But I'm not afraid. You should have a proper burial, with all the rites. That would be nice. You sit in silence, watching the sun disappear below the horizon. This is your life. This strange, impossible, beautiful life. You didn't choose it. You didn't want it at first. But you lived it. Fully. Completely. And that's more than many people can say. The stars begin to emerge. The same stars humans have watched for millennia. The same stars that will shine long after you're gone. You take a deep breath of the cooling evening air, and you smile. Because despite everything, the hardship, the loss, the endless struggle, you survived. You're still here, still trapped in ancient Egypt. But somehow, miraculously, you turned that trap into a home. Epilogue. The memory. 50 years after your death, a young healer named Konsu is treating a patient. The patient is old, sick, close to death. As Konsu prepares medicine, the patient speaks. Are you the apprentice of Nefertari? I was, yes, she trained me. And she was trained by the stranger, the one from far away. Konsu pauses. He's heard the stories. Everyone has. The mysterious healer who appeared in the village generations ago, who spoke with a strange accent, who had knowledge beyond their years, who saved countless lives. Some say they were a god in disguise, others say a spirit. Still others insist they were just a person, albeit an unusual one. Yes, Konsu says, Nefertari spoke of them often. She said they were the finest healer she ever knew. The patient smiles weakly. I remember them. I was just a child, but I remember. They treated me once for a broken arm. Their hands were so gentle, and their eyes, they looked sad, like they carried a great burden. What else do you remember? They used to sit by the river at sunset, every day, just watching the water. Nefertari said they were remembering something, someone, a life they'd left behind. Konsu finishes preparing the medicine and helps the patient drink. They sound like an interesting person, he says. They were. The village was fortunate to have them. After the patient falls asleep, Konsu walks to the river. The sun is setting, painting the sky in familiar colours. He thinks about the stranger, about a person who found themselves in an impossible situation and chose to survive. To help, to build a legacy that lasted generations. He doesn't know their real name. No one does. That knowledge died with them, but their teachings remain, their techniques, their compassion. Konsu uses them every day. Every patient he treats carries an echo of that long-ago healer. The stranger may be gone, but they're not forgotten. They're woven into the fabric of the village, into its history, into the lives of everyone who came after, immortal in their own way. Konsu watches the sun set, just as the stranger once did, and he silently thanks them for the gift of knowledge, the gift of healing, the gift of a legacy that will outlast them all. The Nile flows on, eternal, unchanging. And somewhere in its depths, perhaps, a memory lingers of a person who didn't belong, who shouldn't have survived, but did. Hey there, night wanderers. If you made it all the way through this journey, thank you. Thank you for spending these hours with me in ancient Egypt, for surviving alongside our unnamed protagonist, for witnessing their transformation from confused time traveller to respected healer. This story is about survival, yes, but it's also about adaptation, about finding meaning in the most unlikely places, about building a life when your old one is taken away. I hope it gave you something to think about as you drift off to sleep, or maybe just a peaceful distraction from whatever's keeping you awake. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to Sleepless Survivors for more long-form survival content, and leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what you thought of this journey. Until next time, remember, you're more resilient than you think. You can adapt to more than you imagine, and sometimes, the life you don't choose becomes the life that chooses you. Sleep well, survivors. This is Sleepless Survivors, signing off. Good night.